Welcome, survivors, seekers, and thrivers. I'm your host, Shari Lee Roberts, psychic medium, energy healer, and living proof that you can transform your pain into power. Each episode, we dive into trauma healing, developing your intuitive gifts, and reclaiming your life. Get ready for real stories, deep wisdom, and a little laughter along the way.
Welcome back. I have a wonderful gentleman who is calling in from Ireland today. My guest is Niels Vantzuriel.
You did. Spot on.
And call our contact the now, Niels will explain that and how he helps Haley follow women heal nails. Welcome. I am thrilled that today we finally meet and talk.
Shari, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's been, this conversation has been weeks in the making. I've been looking forward to this. I'm calling from you, or to you, from beautiful green Ireland. It's been a tough winter, but finally spring has arrived. It's green here. It's Ireland the way that Ireland is supposed to be. But yeah, really looking forward to this conversation.
I wanted to ask why women and not men.
Yeah, that's a good one. Me and my partner specifically work with women, and there are a lot of layers to that. We'll get to the very poignant question beneath all of that in just a bit, because, hey, if you've ever been in the alternative field, you know there are some unscrupulous people out there. So, hey, what am I doing with women up the mountain one-on-one? That's a bit iffy. But first up, I grew up in a family filled with women. I've always been surrounded by them. I just feel at home with them. On top of that, the tools that we use, some of them are neurobiologically based, and they seem to be working better with women than with men. It seems that women have, just in the way that they are built in their minds, have some kind of biological superpower to use some of the tools that we use to go in deep forms of trance to make sure that we make that deep change. It seems that they are just better suited to it. So we went like, might as well completely lean into this. I'll give you one example. I won't go too deep here, but one of the things that we do is we make sure that the cognitive side of your mind is completely shut down. So your inner critic, the idea of who am I, what is possible for me, what am I supposed to be, what am I not supposed to be, that can be a gatekeeper. That can be a prison guard for real deep change. And it's fantastic to have that thing online in the real world. But if you want to have some real deep change and you just, for example, talk to that prison guard, it will just rationalize itself out of a deep, deep change. So what we do is we power that down. One of the ways that we do that is make you feel so seen, so cherished, so safe, that the amygdala, that little organ, let's say, inside of the mind that's for your fight and flight, or you know it, for your fight and flight response, that it starts to shut down and feels really, really safe as a result. Now, what we've found out through neurobiology is that the receptors inside of the amygdala that are allowing you to shut that part down quicker and quicker respond to higher levels of estrogen. Women have more estrogen than men. Thus, the moment that they trust you, they really, really trust you. And that amygdala goes completely down. Just one side example of why our tools work a little bit more on women or with women than they do with men. Now, let's tackle the elephant in the room. What the hell are you doing up there in the mountains with women one-on-one? Yeah, that's...
I guess think, yeah, we need to know that then we do want to know what's going on.
That sounds like you've got yourself a deal. So I am an archaeologist and a hypnotist by trade. So I've spent my life basically digging beneath the surface, both in the earth and into the mind of people, just seeing what's going on beyond the surface. I moved to Ireland 13 years ago now to be with my beloved. She's also my partner in crime in the arrival method. Her name is Elizabeth. She is Irish. I am not. Maybe the accent gave it away. But the moment that I came here, I was gobsmacked. I did not know, even as an archaeologist, the amount of megalithic sacred sites that this tiny island holds. It is littered all over the place with fairy mounds, with stone circles, with tombs. It's so much, and most of it is not being visited or maintained. There is a cultural stigma here that anything like that, something that is a liminal spot in the landscape where there's an obvious break in the landscape, like a stone circle, like a big standing stone that you see behind me, if this is being recorded. Those places are known to be gateways for the fairies. And once one of those stones fall over, you do not put them back up again, because the fairies will get rather upset with you. Now, Ireland's cultural heritage, they are very, very proud of that, and they take fairies seriously. Now, we can go into that a little bit later, but to answer your question, I went out into the countryside, just, again, absolutely gobsmacked about what I was seeing there. And the places that I went to were still brimming with power. If they're these ancient sacred sites, if they are somewhat still on the beaten path, people will go and visit them. But the moment that you start to have to hike, the moment that you have to basically get a little bit of a sweat on, let's say about of an hour's worth of any kind of trail, nobody goes to those places, but they're still there. And they are still brimming with potential, with power. So along the years, first we went by ourselves, had a great time. We started to notice the potential of these places, just the energy that they still hold. Some people, the first time that they go and touch a stone, they feel electrified. Others, it's really only the moment that you go away from the location and you walk back to the car, you go like, something's different. So everybody responds differently to these places. But we started to take first our friends and then our acquaintances and more people into the mountains. And we started to notice if you combine the work that we were already doing, for example, with very deep trance work, if you combine that with the hiking and with very deep pre-work, work with the sites that were always meant to do ceremony, oh, you've got a dynamic duo going on there.
Yeah.
So that's very slowly how it started to grow, and we didn't intend for this to happen. It just kind of happened. And the way that we are holding this is also the way that the ancients used to do this. Rites of passage, meaning if you want to make a really big change in your life, yeah, you can go to another meditation class, you can read the next self-help book, but some of these changes that people need to pull through, that they want to pull through, or oftentimes they've had this thing with them their whole lives, and it's been quietly going in the background, and they've been taking care of business, making their lives, making their careers, having their love relationships, raising children, but that thing in the background has always been there, and now it's growing and growing and growing, and there's nowhere in the world that facilitates this big thing to be pulled through and integrated in a sustainable way in their very successful lives. And we were going like, well, we have these things in our backyard. They were made for this. So we literally were going like, okay, the ancients did this as a rite of passage. You prepare yourself, then you go into depth, into the catabasis or into the deep dark night of the soul, and then you come out of it again. And that is a ceremony that's not just 1 or 2 days. That's a ceremony that usually took at least a week, some oftentimes longer. So we do the same thing. We take our time when we do ceremony with a lot of preparation beforehand because the sites deserve it. So that's a bit of the background of how we kind of stumbled into this.
Yeah, we you are going to take them up the mountain. Take it from there.
So I think that you said, hey, can you actually walk me through the moment that we go up the mountain? What does that actually look like?
Yeah.
Perfect. We are on the same page. Now, it really depends upon the person, and it depends upon the amount of pre-work that they've done with us, what they want to achieve, and honestly, how courageous they are. Now, let's be honest here. If you go to the edge of the world, because we are located in the middle of nowhere, at the very edge of Europe, we're an island of mainland Europe. The Atlantic Ocean is right next door to me. If you come to us, we are the last stop. All the other tools that you've tried were just not the right tool for the job. So when you come to us, you are hungry, you're biting at the bit to go up that mountain, and you go like, well, it's all or nothing. You might have even have used psychedelics or something extreme like that. And we don't use psychedelics, but we understand people have really tried everything until now because they know this big thing needs to be pulled through. So you've prepared a lot. And the first day, we call it day zero, we just get you acquainted with the land. We're not just gonna dump you into deep ceremony on day one, especially if we come out of a very analytical atmosphere. If you live in the big city, if you have a highly analytical job, a very masculine push energy, just dumping you into ceremony the first day, your analytical mind is going to protest like, no, we just let you acclimatize to the land. We start to tell a few stories. We start to make a few offerings, if you will, because we are on the land of what the ancient Celts or the ancient Gaels knew as the kayak of Bera, or the ancient hag or wise woman of the Celtic world. She's known all over the British Isles, but she has a home peninsula, and that's this peninsula. So we have to just say hi to that goddess because we are in her playground, and she is not to be messed with. So we just say hi, and we offer a little bit of an offering. But after that, after day one, I basically teach you how you can go into trance at the drop of a hat to absolutely love the process, so that you want to keep on doing that, and that you can reliably keep on doing this by yourself, that you don't ever need me again. This is one of the pet peeves that I have within the spiritual community, is people keeping you dependent upon the guru or the person that has all of the knowledge. Oh God, no. The moment that you go back on the plane, I want you to have mastered everything so that you never have to see me again. Would be fun if we see each other again, but basically you have everything that I have. So the moment that you've mastered that, then it's okay, let's go up into the mountain. Every day we go hiking to these places. That is walking stick in hand. We've got our rucksack in the back, and we go and say hi to the sheep, because sheep rule here. And we go up into the mountains to those old forgotten places. Once we're there are very certain ways that you approach a sacred site in Ireland. They have their own etiquette. They have their own personality. So we get that out of the way. I teach you how to do that. If you come to one of these sacred sites and you have the idea, oh, I am the enlightened one, I come here to cleanse this site, or I'm going to do grit work.
Oh.
No.
No.
These places have seen they go like, they have their own etiquette, and you might still have an experience if you approach them like that, but it's far more conducive to the situation if you realize you are not dreaming the stone circle is dreaming you. You're not the first person that came here, and you're not going to be the last. So put yourself in, the Irish call this quar cuivness in ancient Gaelic, right relationship, or right kinship. So in the right relationship to something that is that old. So we teach you how to do that. I tell a story, because stories are fantastic ways to gently lull the analytical mind to sleep. Now you're already completely done by this time because of the hike, because of the energy, the story, and all of that. And then whatever you want to work on. These kind of things is the range of women that we work with is anywhere from, until now, 27 all the way up to 72, and everything in between. If you're 72, we do adjust a little bit. Okay, how much stamina do you have to go up a mountain?
Yeah.
But we found all of the places that you can still have fantastic experience, but you would be amazed. The 65 plus crowd, they will not give up. They will go to the top of that mountain.
Yeah.
Come hell or high water.
Yeah.
They will have their experience. So we then guide them deeply into trance, and they said before, okay, this is what we want to work on. And from this moment on forward, from day one, okay, there's still a little bit of clearing. But I am basically just getting out of the way, making sure that you're safe, making sure that you are well taken care of. I put the frameworks around you. I anchor you in energetically together with the sacred sites, and then it's your party. What do you want to work on? I have no say in what a mother for that is now going, her children are moving out of the house. She's going into a new phase of her career. Maybe she wants to now become a mother for her tribe. She's going into her eldership role. I'm 43. I have got nothing to teach that woman other than the tools and other than creating the container where it is safe that she can go as deep as she bloody well wishes.
Yeah. Very important to give them the tools. I am with you. The goal always to help someone to the point they no longer need me. You behave, give them all the tools. Their times where people don't always know how being they want to work on where there is a delta being to win what they want and what they need.
That is such a good question, especially the bit about what they want and what they need. Now,
Yeah.
we take our work so seriously, and it's incredibly impactful. It's very intimate. It's very energetically heavy. These days are 12-hour days. We go at it, and we will not stop until we are sure that we got what you wanted out of this. But it is important beforehand to know exactly what you want. If you're going to be vague ahead of time, you're going to get vague results. If you are crisp and sharp and know exactly this is what I want, we focus on that. Now, between you and me, Shari, the problem is never the problem. There is always a deeper thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So that is where the whole what they want and what they need. Oftentimes we figure this out by the end of day one or at the beginning of day two. Once they figure out the power of the different tools, the location, and the whole container that we've built, that they can actually, truly, fully let go and surrender and go deeper, oftentimes deeper than they ever thought that was possible. They go like, oh, in that case, can I actually tackle X? And whatever X might be. It's oftentimes familial. It's oftentimes things that happened in the past. We make very clear to them, this is not therapy. It is not meant as therapy. We are not a replacement for therapy. This is a rite of passage. It is something completely different. Doesn't mean that things don't come up. So what we absolutely do is give you the tools to get rid of the energetic negative load and be able to recoup and reclaim all of that tied up energy and use that now release energy to basically catapult you forward. Now that sounds abstract, but the way that we teach this for the body, it is visceral. It is
Yeah.
really, really real. Both the release and then the integrating it back into your system. We hold this as a whole being approach. We're not just working with your mind. We're not just working with your subconscious mind. We're working with bloody well everything. I call this the highways and byways of your being. So it's also your ethereal field. It is also, of course, the chakras, the auras, everything that. So whatever comes up, the moment that you figure out it is actually safe, nothing is expected of me, but I am being held in such a way that the bar is, you can see that the bar is really, really high, if you will. We are cheering you on and encouraging you to just go as deep as you possibly thought. That was, okay, that was day one. What else can we do? In those places, people do reinvent themselves, and we give them the tools to not just have an aha moment and, okay, now I've reinvented myself, but it's still kind of just mental. We give you the tools so that it's not just mental. You actually burn this into your mind so that it becomes a new neural network, and that the body is fully on board. Because if the body is not on board, the mind has a tendency to, in 2-3 weeks time, look back and go like, that was a nice experience, and then 2 months later, yeah, I'm still thinking of it fondly, but there are no changes. Sorry,
Yeah.
but that's not good enough. That's not good enough for a successful rite of change. So we teach you how to not just have an insight, a aha moment, but actually take this into your daily life so that it becomes identity. Something that the older ones figured out with how they positions rite of passage is the power of being witnessed. And the idea here is, if you just do this by yourself, you try to put into place a new identity, a new way of being for yourself. It is possible. It is absolutely possible. But you're doing this on pure willpower. The moment that you get out of your little cocoon where you were doing your ceremony, your old life is, of course, going to be pushing back on you. And
Yeah.
especially our lives nowadays, with all of the different balls that we have in the air, all of the different relationships and their expectations, and they all expect us to stay the exact same as we've always been. That is
Yeah.
understandable, but at the same time, for the people that really need to make that big of a change, that is the exact opposite of what they need. So what the ancients figured out is, if somebody goes through this, they need an encouraging witness that will hold them to their new identity the moment that they pull it through. So the moment that you leave Ireland, our work isn't done. You're not getting rid of me just yet. So me and my partner Elizabeth keep on connecting with you for at least 3 months to give this stuff roots. Otherwise, again, it's just an aha moment in the mind,
Yeah.
and you come crashing down. And oftentimes, when you come crashing down, the old identity reinforces itself even stiffer
Uh,
and even stricter. You know how this
yeah.
works.
Oh. Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
need to be witnessed. There is so much power in awareness, where on the one hand, very practical, we now hold you to that new standard that you've set for yourself, and we're checking in. How did you do? Where did you fail today? Where did you conquer today? How did you show up? Are you happy with that? Of course, when you go back, it's one step forward, sorry, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's the
Yeah.
nature of these kind of things.
Yeah.
But we keep on making sure that you are being witnessed. Now, that's the practical part. There is also an esoteric part in this. And if you will allow me a quick little story of the one man that was in my life when I was growing up, which was my granddad. And my granddad and I, we played chess. Now, I was a horrible chess player. I am still a horrible chess player. But I remember one afternoon, and we were sitting in behind glass, and the sun was streaming in, and somehow or other, I was able to box his queen into a corner with all of my pieces, and it became more and more difficult for him to get out of that little box. And at a certain moment, he just looked over to me, and I can still remember it. And this is almost 30 years ago. No, it's over 30 years ago now. I remember the look in his eyes, going like, "Well, will you look at that? Well done, little lad. Well done." And I felt so seen and so acknowledged that I can still feel it now 30 years on. The esoteric point that I'm trying to make here is there is power in our awareness. It is one of the super gifts that we have as humans. Our praise, our acknowledgement, our awareness of things, in my mind, in my worldview, is a superpower. So being witnessed, coming out of things and holding you to it and going like, and celebrating the high points and going like, and that could have gone better. That's fine. We're human. There is a superpower in that. That to us is a true rite of passage. Preparing, going in, but also coming out again.
There is and they do said they had heard like you will touch down they had the healing journey not for the saying of heart and yes, possible to heal alone, but I and millions of others tried that you are right. The moment bubble and I guess with saying you will more than likely they all million way. And yes, they had you and and definitely long-term impact of another very point to what you do is now we have to be right and their higher selves. Once you do that, I agree. There is no stopping you. I mean, the opportunities for learning are infinite. Boy, you have many fire about coming and it's very understand the energy of those secret sight. I am already well into connecting with my higher self and spirit. They felt would make connecting to those particular goddesses, ancients. They are much more man does things I could learn. And I have always had a connection to the well-known stones and get out of the sight. Okay, enough about me. You talked about telling stories is part of your you absolutely have to share a story. There one they are your feeling called to share now.
I'll think about one. First, I'm just going to respond to your absolute fired upness, especially when thinking about Ireland. Yeah, she has that effect on people, and the sacred sites do that as well. There is a philosopher slash Christian mystic that used to live about 10 to 20 miles from me. He was basically right next door. He's no longer with us, but he's going to be recognized in the upcoming century for who he was. His name was John Moriarty, and John was a powerhouse. And he had this fantastic saying, and it echoes what you just said. John said, the intention that you bring to Ireland is how she will treat you. And John, in that instance, is echoing the oldest stories that the Gaels, the Irish, have of themselves coming to Ireland. You know what? I'll just tell that story. It is not usually the poetic, so this is not poetic at all. Normally, the old stories that I tell at certain locations don't necessarily have to be Irish. I choose the stories that at that moment, here's the thing about a storyteller. As a storyteller, if you are a real one, you are being chosen by stories. You have very little say about which stories you want to say, because those things are living beings. Now, that's to somebody who's never heard one of those stories before. You go like, that sounds a little bit hyperbole. No, try carrying a story inside of you. That thing is a living, breathing beast of a dragon, and it will wrestle you. And if it doesn't want to come out, it doesn't want to come out. So those kind of old stories are the ones that I tell, and they're not necessarily Irish. So the girls or ladies that I take up to the mountains, they often, why not all Irish? And I have to tell them, number one, I can't. Again, some of them just don't want me to tell them. It's almost like you have to earn your chops, or it has to be the right moment. At the same time, where we are within the culture is we have lost so much. And anything that still has some protein or some nutrition in it, anything that is still alive, is screaming out to anyone else who's willing to listen. to listen or to be told or to be carried by the next storyteller. So that doesn't necessarily have to be Irish tales. Now, I do tell quite a few, but they're not all Irish. So what I'll tell now is a very short rendition of the Irish origin story. It's not a creational myth. They don't have, well, there are some talks that there is a creational myth, but they have an origin story. And central to that origin story is always the figure of Ireland itself. How did people come to this island? That was the central theme of the origin stories that the Irish, medieval Irish, told themselves. And they talk about 6 different waves coming to this island. Now, we're only going to busy ourselves with the last 2, the 5th and the 6th wave, because the first 4 are even more mythical and somehow are always somewhat connected with the biblical flood. So you can really see the ancient Christian monks who were writing down these stories. There's always, they try to connect it back to what they knew in their worldview, being, let's start with Noah. So we're going to ignore the first 4. The 5th race that lands on Irish soil is a tribe known as the Tuatha Dé Danann, or the tribe of Danu, the goddess Danu. Tua is tribe. And these are powerful beings. These are demigods, great heroes of enormous skill and good at magic and beautiful songs. And they really were gods. A little bit later, a 6th wave arrives. These are the sons of Meal, or the Milesians, which are nowadays seen as the modern-day Irish. They come to the shore, and they are being led by 2 men. Amergin, also known as Maid of Song, he's a poet and a bard. And on the other hand, you have Don, who is a warrior. And to make a long story short, Don basically says, we're going to take this island. And Amergin goes, this looks like a very powerful place. So he starts to talk and sing to the land, and he bumps into 3 goddesses, 3 personifications of Ireland. Those are the goddesses Bamba, Fotla, and Eru. And just like John Moriarty said, the way that you arrive with your intention to the land of Ireland, that's how she'll treat you. So Amergin says, hey, we want to negotiate. We want to live here too. While Don says, we're not negotiating anything. This means war. Eventually, the Tuatha Dé Danann, those mythical gods, have had enough of Don's warmongering and throw him out and all of the rest of the tribe that followed him out to sea, and that's where they drown. They never established themselves on the island because they didn't connect with it in the right way. They came to take. They came to conquer. They came for bloodshed. Remember, this is the oldest stories that the Irish have of themselves. There is still, in front of Dursey Island, there is a small rock called Bull Rock, which is known as Tacduin in Gaelic, or Asgilga in Asberla in English. It is Bull Rock, or the House of Don, and that is where the Irish underworld goes, or starts, or it's an entry point to the Irish underworld, which is not the same as the Irish otherworld. 2 different things.
Yeah.
So, finally, Amergin, Maid of Song, and his people negotiate with the Tuatha Dé Danann. They still fight a battle. There is battle, but eventually they go to the goddesses, and there's a truce, and they come to the understanding. The Tuatha Dé Danann, the 5th race, will go into the Irish otherworld. Those places that are just beyond sight, just beyond your breath. You can kind of hear it, you can kind of feel it, and the access points are those liminal places, the fairy mounts, the stone circles, the stone mounts, the caves, the cliffs, everywhere where there is mist, where there is a clear break in the landscape. That is how the Tuatha Dé Danann can still come into the Irish above ground, which would now be given to the Milesians, to the Sons of Meal, to Amergin and his band. Only one problem. The Irish Yeah, of course. There needs to be a twist at the last moment. The Irish do not hold up their side of the bargain. The part of the bargain was you will honor the land and you will gift it and you will take good care of it. And you will honor the Tuatha Dé Danann. You will honor the people that went into the mount. You will honor the people of the mounts, which later became known as the fairies. They stopped honoring the fairies. They stopped honoring the mounts, and the lands started to suffer. They did not honor the goddesses. And the moment that they did that, the Tuatha Dé Danann came back out of the fairy mounts again and basically told them, hey guys, you have to straighten up. You want to live on this island? You honor the goddess. This is one of the most ancient stories that the Irish have about themselves, and it's about their relationship with the land. And I think that is so darn beautiful. Now, storytelling wise, this was not my best work at all. What the ancient stories tend to do is they have inside of them something that I like to call little alchemical packages. Little things that remind us of what it is to be human, and what in our bones we pay attention. Throwaway sentences like caribou dust, or when there was no moon yet in the sky. They remind us of something really, really deep, of what it means to be human on this earth. And it's rather difficult at times to be human on this earth. Those kind of stories, especially again, summertime, Ireland is fantastic. Wintertime, oh dear, it is so difficult to survive. The rain and the storms do not stop. That ancient Gaelic hag that I was talking about, the divine old one, the Kayak of Bera, she's known as Mother of Storms and Mother of Winter, and oh, does she throw storms. Very difficult to survive here. Those old stories remind us what it is to be human and all the possibilities of what we can be as humans. And the beautiful thing about stories is our subconscious mind opens. I've never heard a person say, you know what I really don't like? A story. I don't like it. Never come across a person like that before. We just listen. And it's a very easy way to slowly start to go into deeper and deeper parts of your mind where there is just no resistance, and then we can go and play.
Okay. Oh, done. وكذا طلعت Thailand for telling stories. Now I understand the importance of a story. In your process. You told that they and was completely focus on what you were saying. And I had visual coming, and there was it kept very getting severe radiance. Love think
Those are some really good ones.
talk to with and words with they are yes. I would love to hear more about them. Yeah, I hear land and your
Oh God, the fairies. First up, forget everything that you know about fairies. Forget it. Because the idea that we nowadays have, if you don't see them, if you don't have the gift, if you don't have the sight, the idea of what we have of what fairies are highly influenced by number one, Disney, who in their version were influenced by Victorian novelists, who in their version were influenced by Shakespearean playwrights. Basically, in the plays, they needed to have a way to show to an audience the ethereal, and they came up with wings, and that went on into basically what we now know as Tinkerbell. If that's the idea that you have of fairies, forget that.
yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that they can't show themselves that way, but that's not the original version. The original, first up, fairy within Ireland and within Irish culture is a compilation term. It's not one being or one sort of being. It is basically anything that is from the other world or that has access to the other world. Realities between the species and between the individual beings.
Yeah.
And not all of them, better yet, a very big part of them, are as well aligned, shall we say, with human intentions as you might hope. For the cultural background within Ireland is that you don't mess with fairies. If you don't mess with them, there's a bigger chance that they don't mess with you. There needs to be a high amount of respect that you need to show them. One of the ways that you do that is, number one, don't disturb their places where they go in and out of this world. So again, if a standing stone falls over, don't put it back up again. If there is a ring fort, don't take any stones from ring forts. No, you leave everything exactly where it is. And if you talk about them, you talk in euphemisms. The good folk, the good people. If you open up a bottle of liquor, the first little nimbleful, you throw it on the ground for the good people. Why? Because they don't have the same moral etiquette necessarily that we have. They can be incredibly helpful, but because they have access to other powers, they can also be a problem. And you just go poo-poo, aha, sure, fairies is at the very least a cultural faux pas in Ireland. So even if you don't believe in it, at the very least take it as a cultural pride that the modern day Irish have. Ireland itself, the idea and the culture of Ireland is thousands of years old, but the country of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, only just over 100 years since it gains its independence from Great Britain. And as a result of that, it is still trying to figure out its own identity, who it is, what it wants to represent in the world, and harkening back to its own history. So fairies are actually a bit of a cultural pride thing. But they are, above and beyond that, they are taken seriously. People who are as modern as you and me, people who have their busy lives in the skyscrapers in New York, you will find those same kind of people in Ireland with their phones, with their computer and their mortgages and all of that. Hyper modern people who know that the fairies are real, or at the very least treat them as if they were real. As an example, business owners, if they want to build a new a factory, or if you have a plot of land and you want to put a house on it, and there is one of these liminal places already there. And again, hundreds of thousands on the land, so there's a lot of them. If there's already one of those liminal places there and you want to build, yeah, you're shit out of luck. You just have to move over to the field right next door, or leave a considerable amount of space between you and that ring fort or fairy fort to not mess with the fairies. This goes to such an extent that even big building projects like highways have been moved as to not cut down fairy trees, either a whitethorn or a blackthorn. You have the blackthorn is for the moon fairies, who are a little bit darker in their energy, a little bit more mischievous, and the other ones are for a little bit more friendly to human, but still you have to be on your guard. They moved out of respect the highway around or away from the fairy tree so that it didn't need to be cut. This is part and parcel of life in Ireland. It's been taking. Everybody knows a story about dealing with the fairies. Of course, everybody's going to say with a little wink, of course, there was a little bit of a drink involved, which is normal. But at the same time, this is reality on this land. And you have to treat it as such. When you are walking about, especially in places like the Burren, or especially near crossroads during witching hour, and you hear somebody calling your name, you do not turn around. You make sure that you have a piece of iron with you. Again, it's not all bad. It really isn't. It's just that you are dealing with forces here that we pretend that we understand, but seem to have a mind of their own. So you keep on walking, you keep your nose to yourself, and you act in a certain respectful manner when you are around these kind of liminal places, these kind of old sacred sites. Is that a good starting point when we're talking about fairies?
Yes. Yes. Because I land. But turns what might be fall them.
If you're lucky, you get unlucky, and then you're getting off quite easily. You and your lineage will have bad luck for longer than you wanted to. Including this can turn into a familial curse. If you're really unlucky, you get taken into the other world, where time works differently. Mm-hmm. So there are tales, and this goes back to the mythological cycle, where cultural heroes get approached by beautiful young lady, golden hair, and she praises him to high renown. Your name and your song is even known in the other world. I knew the moment that I heard about you, I needed to come into the above world to find you, because you would be the only person I would take as a husband. And of course, he is persuaded, and he takes her hand, knowing full well that the other world plays by different rules. He goes into the other world, has a fantastic time with his new love, but after a few months starts to miss his old friends, his old family, and goes like, can I just visit? Can I just pop over? And she says, sure, if you're sure about this, you pop over and you come back. So this cultural hero finds his way back to above ground, if you will, and all of a sudden there is this strange sound on the land that hadn't been there before. The sound of metal bells clanging from up high, and he sees these towers that had never been there. Of course, we now understand that Christianity had come by this time to Ireland. And Everywhere he looks, it's Ireland, but it's different. Nobody who we ever knew was still alive. He couldn't find them. And the people that were around seemed to be diminished in some way or form. He could see farmers that in his day he would know would be able to pick up one of these megaliths, one of these big stones without any issue. These farmers, three of them, were having trouble with a far smaller stone. So they cry out for help to our cultural hero and say, "Can you please help us?" And he says, "Sure, I can pick up that stone." He knows he can. And the moment that his foot touches above Ireland once again, time starts to catch up with him. Time in the other world moves way slower and way differently. Centuries had passed above ground, and now that his foot is touching above ground, his body crumples to dust and he dies right there. The other world doesn't play in the same way. Now, I've been talking about these are sometimes even the old gods. If you ask an Irish grandmother or an Irish mommy the story about the fairies, she will tell you something completely differently. And this is something that every Irish person will have grown up with, is in the battle between heaven and hell during the fall, there were those beings that were pure good. They remained with God. They became the angels. There were those beings that absolutely rebelled against God, and those became the devils. And then there was a third group of beings who were not completely bad, but they weren't completely good either. And those, in the tales of the Irish grandmothers, became the fairies. And that's what the most Irish people will know, that version.
I could never figure out how favorite came to be. I know angels, I guess they had archangels, but fairies, I didn't know. So that does make sense. Do you know if fairy can become an angel?
This goes beyond my knowledge. So I would love to make up a story or anything like that. I don't have that cultural information. What I can tell you is that Ireland itself, because of its history, because of how Christianity came to this Ireland, and as a storyteller, of course, I am going to quote Martin Shaw. You might have heard of him. He is, in my mind, the greatest storyteller that is alive today. And he has a fantastic quote that Christianity didn't come to Ireland at the tip of a spear, but on the tip of a tongue. Meaning that was a very gradual integration process of the pagan ways slowly being absorbed into Christianity, and it was never quite fully relinquished. So even when the old Christian scribes, the monks of whom we all have this information, talk about the Tuatha or about the gods that came before, yeah, sometimes they make a little bit of fun of it, but there's always more gravitas and autoritas to their words. They take it more seriously than you would expect that they would. There was a real tip of the hat of what came before. So I wouldn't be surprised that in that same way, and this is me speculating, in that same way that there is a very gradual integration between, on the one hand, the pagan ways that became Christianity, in that same way that there is a continuation or a growing of fairies into higher beings. I must tell you, I don't have sight in that way. I can feel a lot. But if I would now say as an authority, oh, it's this, and this, no, sorry, then I would be lying. What I can tell you is the story of Saint Bridget, and Saint Bridget is one of the patron goddesses of Ireland. Now you know one patron god, that is Saint Patrick, but Ireland actually has three, and one of them is a woman named Saint Bridget, and Saint Bridget nowadays is Saint Bridget, but before she became canonized and before the Christian story was put upon her, she was, as far as we can tell, and this is a little bit, it's stated more matter of fact nowadays than our knowledge actually is there. But it seems that she was an ancient Celtic goddess connected with springtime, with the light, just where the kayak, the elder goddess of winter, of storms, had one side of the year. Her sister, or her other half, Saint Bridget, had the other parts, being spring and summer. And Saint Bridget nowadays, she's just received her own vacation day in Ireland. I would say that outside Ireland, in the diaspora, so in Canada and the US, St. Patrick is way more important, but inside Ireland, especially as part of the revival and that trying to understand who we are as Irish, that revival and rediscovering of themselves, St. Bridget is starting to become even more important than St. Patrick. And she is basically another sovereignty goddess. Just like Fotla, Eru, Bamba, those other goddesses that we were talking about, she is also a sovereignty goddess. And this comes back everywhere within Irish mythology, is the need for freedom and the need for sovereignty. Yeah. You guiding your own way, still in right relationship with the people around you, but being free and being sovereign. So that does come back in our rites, by the way. We really do touch upon that. But in that same way, from pagan to Christian, we have an actual goddess who became a Christian saint, Saint Bridget.
They are interesting. And now I don't know it does higher land, but other countries need sovereignty. Therefore, it makes sense that God is brilliant, is gaining notoriety and importance. Longer than I had told you that I would. We could go on for days. I would love it. Big forward we sign off. Would you like to give words wisdom to our listeners, and also share how people can contact you.
Absolutely. Sherry, thank you so much for this. I really enjoyed this. And you're right. This is what Ireland does to people. You don't even have to be of Irish lineage. Again, I'm not. Now, so, and as for wisdom, let's see. What I'm going to do is, yeah, I mentioned this along the way, and that is the Irish idea of right relationship. And that is a core concept that's known as quarqueveness. And the idea is that, hey, we change as humans throughout our lives. It's normal that we change, but we have to change in right relationship with both ourselves, the people around us, our tribe, our larger society, and then with all of those unseen forces that are out there as well. This is a universe based on relationship. And yes, we have to change, but it's also a negotiation with all the other things of how we change and all of that. And to find a balance between staying true to yourself and not blowing up all of the relationships that you've built is a tightrope. And honoring those relationships, both in the seen world and the unseen world. When we guide our ladies back home again, we tell them, tongue in cheek, you're not allowed to divorce your husband the first week that you're back. Just don't. You're not allowed to quit your job the first week that you're back. If you want to put in that kind of change, you do it slowly, you do it in the right way, you honor what you've built, and then if people can no longer come along with you in the new person that you now need to be, they will fall away eventually. But small steps, roots, not wings, and then eventually you will fly. But that idea of right relationship and that you're not alone on this, there are fairies. There are sitting with a stone circle. The stone might start talking to you. I've seen weird stuff happen.
Yeah.
Be aware that this is a universe of relationship. There you go. I'll keep it at that. Quarqueveness, right relationship.
Sad and incredibly important. Now, how can people contact you?
Well, if they want to work with us and want to come to Ireland, give us a call. Our website is adventuresinquietplaces.info. So that's adventuresinquietplaces.info. There, any button on that site will get you to talk to us. The thing is, because we take this work so seriously and because it is so intimate and it goes so deep, it is one-on-one work. We can only take a maximum of 20 people per year. So if you do feel that this is for you, let's have a talk. We need to be a good fit for you. You need to be a good fit for us. So yeah, let's have a talk.
Do you have any openings this year, or are you booked?
We still have a few for this season. The thing about the Irish season, it's short. It's really short. So the moment that Samhain comes on by, which is the 31st of October, also known as Halloween, that is the start of the Gaelic New Year. So in the old way that the Gaels used to look at it, the New Year started in darkness. It started at the beginning of winter. The new day started at sunset the day before. So new life starts in darkness. The way that we do this is with the Irish weather. We do it in the summertime because the wintertime is too much. It is the rain is so much. To answer your question, yeah, we still have a few for 2026. Again, we just have to have a talk with people.
Thank you for listening. If today's conversation resonated with you and you're ready to explore your own healing journey or intuitive gifts, I'd love to work with you. I offer psychic medium readings, energy healing sessions, and intuitive development guidance at shariroberts.org. And if you're not quite ready for a session, but want to be a part of the conversation in a supportive community, join my private Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. This is Shari Lee Roberts. Until next time, remember, you're never alone.